Here's Corin. All right. It's Corin again. What's happening, man? I'm Corin Nemick.
LēMonté Rendles.
LēMonté Rendles.
Yeah.
Pleasure to meet you. Where are you from?
Oklahoma City.
Oh, is that where you were born and raised?
No, I was actually born here in Texas, Temple.
In Temple, Texas.
But I grew up in Oklahoma City.
What, if you don't mind, because I know some people are sensitive about it, how old they are or whatnot, but what years was that you were born in, like raised in? What was the decade, you know?
75.
75. Oh, so I got you on a few years. I was born in 71 myself.
Okay.
But yeah. So in Temple, Texas, how long did you live in Temple?
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't at all?
No.
It was just born and bounce?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That was similar to me in Little Rock, although I kind of bounced from Little Rock to Fayetteville, back to, down to Pine Bluff, and then over in Atlanta, and then out to Hollywood. But then you ended up straight to Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. And whereabouts in Oklahoma again was it?
Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City. Okay, so that was in. So by the time you were like old enough to like be out on the streets and all that, around 6, 7 years old, hanging out, like what was life like in Oklahoma City in the early '80s?
Fun.
Was?
Yeah, it was definitely fun.
Yeah, well, like what would the, you know, when you were in elementary school and you and all your boys, like what was the neighborhood like that you grew up in, and the kind of the cultural sort of norms that were there, you know, like
5 or 6 years old, I can't really tell you exactly how everything was. I mean, because to me it was normal, you know, just having a mother and a father, you know, and in a household, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it was just pretty much a normal 5-year-old.
And your mother and father stayed together?
Well,
I'm from a broken home myself.
Yeah, I'm from broken home also. My biological father is Italian. My mom is African American.
Okay.
I grew up with a stepdad. You know.
Good guy?
Yeah, I would say he was a good guy.
Okay.
I mean, just like anybody else, they had their flaws. You know what I mean? But the way I look at it is people's mistakes doesn't determine who they are.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Just says what they've been through in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you stayed in Oklahoma City for how many years?
Oh man, I was back and forth to Oklahoma City and Texas. Everybody on my mom's side of the family is here in Texas.
Okay.
Don't know much about my biological father except his name and pictures, you know what I mean? But other than that, nothing.
Yeah.
But I grew up with a stepfather and everything like that. So.
And was that because my mom and dad, they split when I was 1, and my dad, I didn't really know him at all until we really got to know each other when I was an adult. But when I was a kid, I really didn't, I didn't really know him, to be honest. You know, even when I was going and visiting him from time to time when we would, it was almost like staying with a stranger. It was a little weird, you know, and being really like, I was so paranoid about my behavior and doing something wrong that would upset him or some other thing, you know. But was your stepfather at least a good role model or someone you could at least look up to? Was he a hard worker? Did he try hard?
Actually, he was. When I was a kid, he was a chef for a country golf club. But his background, he used to box out of California.
Really?
Yeah, and growing up as a kid,
what was his name, if you don't mind sharing?
Thomas Shaky Wright.
Okay.
Yeah, he.
Great name.
Yeah. One of my brothers is actually named after him. So, but he was a good dude, man. He let us know how to be men. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was a hard knock life, but it was a good life. To know. You know?
So, because I grew up in what would be considered a lower economic strata, you know, so, and I'm always curious about what other people's experiences was, because, see, for me, I didn't really know what subsidized housing was or what government projects were living in them. It just was what the world was, and then, I lived in those apartment complexes in Atlanta that were like, 10 blocks long by 6 blocks wide, and you guys, there was like 2 pools, one pool on the east end and one pool on the west end, and the kids that hung out at the west end pool didn't like the kids that hung out at the east end pool, you know, and we get beef with each other and ride our bikes down to their pool and jump off our bikes and go and do a cannonball in the pool and then jump out and ride our bikes back to our pool and then try to tough up and keep them out of our pool. It was stupid stuff. But what was what was kind of like the economic strata that you guys had to deal with growing up?
A lot of gangs and drugs. A lot of gangs and drugs.
And that's yeah, because that was especially in the 80s, the crack epidemic and all of that was wild. Because I ended up from Atlanta into LA in '84, and was going to they weren't really. I mean, almost all schools in LA are inner city schools, almost no matter where you live. You know, even suburban schools, really, in a way. But I lived in North Hollywood, and it was crazy, man. I went from, you know, being a hip hop kid in Atlanta, doing some breakdancing, thinking I was cool, to walking into a world of gangbangers and danger, and, you know, dudes, you know, people beefing with me, and I'm like, I don't even understand this. Like, I'm just doing graffiti, and whose wall did I tag on? And they're like, yo, you tagged on, you know, Loco's wall, this and that, and like they're after you, and I'm like, you know, crazy stuff. But how did you manage to stay out of that game, or did you kind of slip in and out of it? Because I slipped in and out of my behavior. You know,
I definitely slipped into it. It was kind of rough because of the fact that, you know, first my brothers, they got into it, you know what I mean, and then I kind of felt like that there was like a little favoritism because my mom showed more attention to them because they were getting into trouble and stuff like that, you know, and now here I am, supposed to be the good kid or whatever. And, you know, I felt like the only way I was going to gain the attention from my mom is to basically get in trouble too, you know what I'm saying? Get into some kind of lifestyle that they were involved in, and, you know, different things like that.
Yeah, I get that totally. I mean, you know, for me, it was like not having a strong father figure for me, I think led me to look up to dudes who were considered the badasses and the tough guys, you know. And I gravitated more towards hanging out with those rough and tumble types, because, you know, for me, it gave me a sense of manhood that I didn't understand, you know, and I got into, you know, a lot of stuff myself. At some point I'll end up interviewing my mom, and I'm gonna have her tell some stories of the shit that I put her through. But how did you get? Like, what was the moment that you realized this isn't for me? I gotta make something of myself. I gotta do something different, no matter what it is. Even if I'm digging ditches, at least I'm digging honest ditches. You know.
To be honest, man, the eye opener for me was the first time I got locked up.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Not for long.
No, not for long, man. It was just the fact that, you know, just realizing that my freedom got taken away from me. You know, and it was definitely an eye opener for me. You know what I mean? The girl who I ended up falling in love with and marrying, I thought was gonna kick me to the curb because she ended up going down when I went down. But you know, it was her who actually helped me to open my eyes, and I really thank God for putting her in my path to actually slow me down and open my eyes and get my attention to when he did, because of the fact that she was the one who was always coming up to put money on my books, writing me letters, you know, trying to keep my head level and everything. And the so-called friends that I had, you know, was nowhere to be found. You know what I mean? I mean, they didn't put no money on my books, didn't come and visit me or nothing like that. But she was there. She was there all the way, man. And one night, man, I got down on my knees and I just prayed to God. I said, look, God, I know I'm not living right, and I grew up in church.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I knew about God, but I wasn't trying to live for God. You know what I mean? And I just got down on my knees one night, man, and I just said, God, I know I'm not living right. You know, but this is the type of girl I would love to marry and have my kids by. And I said, if it's your will, it'll happen. But if it's not your will, I know you got somebody else in store for me. You know? And after I got out, man, I proposed to her at her mom's church in the parking lot. You know, and her mom was Korean, or is Korean.
Okay.
And
yeah, I guess there is no was, huh?
No. And she went and told her mom, showed her the ring I got her and everything, and her mom and her friends were talking in Korean amongst each other, you know what I'm saying? And they kept looking at me, which kind of made me feel kind of awkward, you know. I'm like, dang, did I make the right decision here? You know? But, you know, mom loved me, you know what I'm saying? And everything like that, man. And I really thank God for actually putting her in my path to actually change me around, man.
It's interesting you say that because you know, a lot of people don't talk about how, you know, the spiritual universe can intervene in our lives in shapes and forms like that. You know, and I'm not talking about it in a religious context. I'm talking about it in. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to record something. I can't fall. Sorry. I know it was an accident. When you know, when we deal with these kind of things, it's those moments that if you don't grasp onto them, they go away for good. You know, and worse things can happen. Right. You know, and it's amazing that you had that experience and that you had an angel, you know, in your life like that, who was just there, seeds of hope, hope, you know. I mean, what a blessing, man.
Yeah, a tremendous blessing, man. And I have, like I said, I married the woman. Yeah. You know, and had 3 beautiful daughters by her, you know what I mean? And
so when you got out, what was when that transition happened, you know, what was your, obviously I understand the motivation now, you know, and, you know, how did you end up here, for instance? Like, what was the path that led you to working at this place? Because this is a cool place.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind working
actually,
here.
I used to work for Cedar Street Courtyard. Okay. Well, I guess they're like sisters or brother and sister within the company or whatever. And I worked for them, you know what I'm saying, until the COVID-19 thing hit. You know, which basically put a lot of people out of work.
Put me out of work.
Yeah.
Big time.
So the guys at Cedar, they really liked the way that I worked, my work ethic and everything like that, and decided to pull me along with them. So I'm very grateful.
Another blessing.
Yeah.
I mean, another huge blessing, right? Yeah. Because like you said, this has been a concern of mine. Obviously, is that, you know, with this shutdown, it's putting more and more people in desperate situations, which is going to push people to possibly go and do something that they never would normally do, right, and end up incarcerated. You know, as God forbid, or just end up depressed, suicidal.
Yeah, and that's been happening a lot.
A lot, and it's a huge concern. What a blessing that you're here and you got to transfer over here and keep your integrity. You know, because I know for me, losing the ability to work and get jobs and all of that over all these years, it's really my personal integrity that was at stake most. Is like, you know, how do I take care of my family and pay for everything is the number one stress. But what am I if I'm not doing something, you know, to provide? And I think that's a big drawback to this situation is taking away people's ability to survive for themselves. Right.
And it's definitely having an effect on a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, are you scared to go to work? Are you scared to go out and do stuff?
No, I'm not scared at all.
Me either.
And the reason why I'm not scared, because number one, I still got to provide. Regardless, exactly. You know, I got to take care of myself. You know what I mean? I got other people who's dependent on me to supply and provide.
Do you have anybody in your family who's passed away from COVID?
No.
Yeah, me either. I don't know anybody. But
it's kind of funny that you actually mentioned that, because although that we don't know anybody who would per se have COVID, you know what I mean, or even passing from COVID, it's a lot of things that I and it's to an extent, I guess you could say that I'm considered as a conspiracy theorist.
Sure.
You know, because I don't think a lot of this happened by accidental coincidence. You know what I mean? Everything's always been prepared for something.
Well, they had that Agenda 201, you know, just at the end of last year, where they did basically they did a whole entire dress rehearsal for exactly what's happening now. You know.
Yeah, and me personally, You gotta think about a lot of the sci-fi movies are actually telling you stuff that's actually going to transpire before it even happens.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And even the books, the novels, like 1984 or Brave New World, where, you know, where you look at it and this dystopian future that's being created, you know, for us to believe in, or predicted, or pre-programmed. And I was talking about this earlier. So, you know, if you have a bunch of kids who've been growing up playing Grand Theft Auto and playing these dystopian, you know, video games where it's just the whole environment is destroyed, and watching movies where everything's at the end of the world, it's The Walking Dead, it's this and that.
Yeah.
You know, when they go out and burn down their own neighborhood out of anger, whether it's justified or not, when they go and burn down their own neighborhood, they create that dystopian future right then and there, and look around and go, see, this is exactly what we're not realizing, that the whole thing's, just like you said, has been fomented, created, worked, manipulated, massaged into existence. You know,
but some people probably gonna hate me for what I'm about to say, but if you really think about it, you have to really look at. To me, I look at the government as a puppeteer.
Yeah.
The media, I look at the strings as the mechanism for the puppet, and we the people are the puppets. Because you could think the government basically puts out certain information to us.
Yeah.
Some things they keep top secret, but if it's why should it be top secret if it's involving our lives?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Because they say that they known about this COVID-19 thing months before it actually got to the level or extent that it's at.
Yeah.
The media, they took that and gave us so much of it, you know what I'm saying, till they had everybody in panic.
Right.
So if you think about it, here the government is, they telling us this, that, and the third. The media is feeding it to us. We react.
Yeah.
They just dashing around with us. You know what I mean?
I'm with you.
So we don't react to things we don't know nothing about. So if you can put something to the people to put them in panic, in a sense, I look at it as they probably getting ready for martial law.
Right.
They putting people in the state of fear. I mean, the lockdown period.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's just preparation of martial law.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
I can see that. I can see that as a, you know, as a preparatory measure to get people used to this idea and all and all
get
of that.
Accustomed to it, because you know, as long as they continue to feed it to us, I mean, you'd be like, okay, because everything that they're presenting, and whether it's in TV shows, they're getting you accustomed to it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Oh, it's the norm. Everybody's like this, you know, and it's not, bro.
That's what will probably start happening next. Is there's probably start being TV shows that are showing what this new world of social distancing and this and that and all that is going to be like, and you know, and it is a really wild
because you think
time.
about like the movie Total Recall, for example.
Yeah. My dad was production designer on Total Recall.
How many TV shows or movies have you seen that actually have a implant that's in their body, whether it's or maybe not even in their body, just gain access to a particular top secret vault of some sort?
Right.
And the hand that they're only scanning is what? The right hand.
Right.
Or they're scanning the eye.
Right.
Where's the computer chip is going to be?
Well, they're already doing that over in Denmark and other places where they're doing the new, you know, everything is in a chip in your hand, and people are, and it's becoming a trend, and it's fashionable, and all you got to do is wave your hand across something, and it's all paid for, and you know, it's pretty trippy. Now listen, if I trusted that, which I'm like you, I'm a very untrustworthy when it comes to Big Brother and the government and all of that. And that's not news to anybody who knows me. But if we lived in a world where I thought that everybody was on the up and up, that kind of stuff might be kind of cool and make things easy. But the way that things are, I don't trust a damn thing.
Right.
That I don't even like having a driver's license.
Right. I mean,
you know what I mean?
And you know, it's funny because like you think about our debit cards and our credit cards. Before, we didn't have to have a computer chip in our debit card or credit card.
Right.
Why now?
Yeah, they say it's because of technological advances and all this, but it's, you know.
Okay, but at the same time, I look at it as it's their way of them keeping tabs on what you're spending your money on.
Exactly.
Because if the whole system end up shutting down and all the banks have shut down, you cannot access your funds.
That's it.
Because that computer chip doesn't work.
That's right.
And everything that runs by a computer chip is by the satellite.
That's right.
How you think they're finding animals and dogs that get lost?
Exactly. When they do.
I mean, even people that's been on house arrest.
Yeah.
It's because of the computer chip or device that they have on them.
And then what's scary about that is like I said, if it's in altruistic hands, if it's total like, you know, everything is beautiful in harmony, which it isn't, you know, then that kind of stuff might be fine. But when I look at places like what's going on in China, that with this social credit score system that they've started over there, where let's say you jaywalk and you get caught on camera, and they have all the technology to know exactly who you are, and then they debit your account for the fine, and then you get your social credit score hit, and suddenly you're in a lower thing. So now you can't go to certain parts of town. So the more of this that happens, the worse your social credit score gets, and now you don't even have access to using public transportation, going to certain parts of the city, leaving the city,
right,
buying certain things, you know, and they just slowly start stripping away. And when most of the people are fine with their social credit score, they don't care about the poor bastard who's being flushed down the toilet. You know, they just do even more to keep their social credit score up. Say yes, click on this, like. Oh, look at my social credit score is better because I'm liking everything that they say. Right. You know what I mean? Right. And it just but the poor bastard who's just trying to get to work on time and jaywalks to get there or whatever, you know, gets their lives ruined over some really minimal stupid
But
stuff.
You know, that's funny that you keep mentioning a jaywalk. I mean, what is a jaywalk? To this day, I still don't know what a jaywalk is. I mean, am I walking in a particular J?
I got arrested. I got arrested for jaywalking the night before my wedding in San Antonio by a couple of really dick cops, and literally the light was yellow. Where I was coming out with the party that I was with, my wedding party, jogged across the street laughing. It was yellow. Got on the other side. I was like, "Come on, guys, it was yellow." And then two bicycle cops speed up beside me, and they slam on their brakes. They go, "You know, you just jaywalked." And I was like, "What are you talking about? It was yellow." They said, No, that's jaywalking." And I was like, "Listen, bro," and I went like that. I said, "It's just my wedding night." And he looked at my hand. He goes, "Did you just touch a cop?"
Yeah.
He goes, "You know that's illegal.
Assault,
you can't touch it. That's assault." And they literally, before the light changed, and my wedding party was across the street, they had me against a car in handcuffs in my wedding party suit with my whole wedding party, and they're going, I was like, I don't even know how this happened.
Yeah.
And my wedding party came over, and they're like, "Listen, we don't know what happened. This da 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 da." And they said, "Listen, if you guys don't F off, you're gonna get arrested too." And I'm like, "What is this?" I mean, I got released later. Everything was fine. But the point was just like you said. All I did was jog across a yellow light, and these crazy police tactics that are used, and this power that's given to people that are in authority. They abuse the crap out of it because they're allowed to.
Yeah.
They don't act like citizens of the United States who have a badge. They act like people with a badge who police citizens of the United States, and we're not all in this together. I'm not saying all of them. Those two officers that night did. You know?
And you know, it's funny because you know, certain laws. Really, I think a lot of the laws has a catch-22 to it. You know, I mean, like, say for instance, think about the last time you saw a cop flying down the highway without his lights on, without the siren blaring, but who gets to pull him over?
No one.
I mean, you can.
Yeah.
You can place him under citizen's arrest, but you're making a target for yourself.
I used to have these fake parking tickets that just said like what a douchebag you were for the way you parked. And I used to keep them just for, because in Hollywood, where I lived in West Hollywood, the cops always parked in the red zones and everything, and they didn't care. They'd park in front of fire hydrants, wherever. They didn't care where they parked. And I would always slip over there and put one of those under their windshield wipers.
Yeah.
Just to be like, come on.
Yeah.
But they're like, well, we're allowed to in case there's an emergency.
But then,
it's like, what if there's an emergency for me? I should be allowed to then as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's crazy because it's like certain cops, not all cops, like you said, use that badge on their chest as a Superman badge. They're invincible. It's either you abide by what I tell you, or the repercussions gonna happen. You know what I mean? But some cops, there's good cops out there, man.
Absolutely, the majority are.
Yeah, they're actually doing their job, which is to serve and to protect. But some are just abusing that authority.
Well, that's the unfortunate, when that old saying, one bad apple doesn't spoil a whole bunch. Well, when it comes to policing, one bad apple does spoil the whole bunch.
Yeah,
but it's a pretty, it's a fine line that they're threading. And when the media is totally against you, I mean, I've never seen anything like it in my life. The media being against police. Yeah. That's just, to me, like, I mean, I understand what they're against in terms of criminal conduct by police officers.
Right.
That I get. Everybody gets that, but man, it is a trip. Well, just to wrap it up, if you had, something, or what would you say would be one way that we could come out of this? Like, what would be something that you think that we could all do to come out of this kind of, hypnosis or whatever we're in, or this spellbound state we're in? I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Well, for one, stop making everything a race. Stop making everything such a racial situation. Because in all actuality, God only created one race.
That's right.
And that's the human race. It's mankind who become racist.
Absolutely.
So we put the racial situations behind us. I think the world could be better if we can get past that.
Yeah.
I
absolutely agree. Well, it's odd because, like you were saying, it was fun growing up and back in the day and all that. Like, I don't really recall this being such an issue. I understood the police brutality part of it, but the equal rights movement and all that stuff in the 60s, that's what seems to be being rehashed here in the guise of something else, but I'm like, I mean, when I'm living my regular everyday life, I don't know if you see it, but I don't really see what they're talking about.
No, because everybody that I get, everybody that I know, and I think that's one reason why I see a lot of interracial relationships. It's because a lot of people are getting tired of the racial things going on.
I've had my fair share of interracial relationships, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that actually is a way that people are dying it down, you know what I'm saying, or trying to die it down. But it got some people who just won't let the past be in the past.
Right.
African Americans have dealt with a whole lot of issues, or I use that quotations marks instead of using black or white, because I don't personally, I guess you could say that I'm colorblind. Because I've never seen a black man and I've never seen a white man. I've never seen a man the color of my shirt. Never seen a man the color of this white cup. So I don't look at terms of black and white because that's stupid. You know what I'm saying? Who told you were black? Who told you were white?
Yeah.
We're going by what people tell us than what we know for ourselves. I mean, because you think about it, you get a group of elementary kids. They don't see black or white.
No.
They say this is my friend or this is not my friend. They don't look at a racial deal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And what is the difference between the kids and us? We teach our kids right from wrong, but now we need to learn from our kids. Our kids are just teaching us right from wrong. Because we got so brainwashed about what society and the media is trying to tell us and what the government wants us to believe, but we never really thinking for ourselves. God has given us a mindset to think for ourselves. Why aren't we using our own mind?
Exactly.
Because it's common sense. Common sense is no longer common. That's why we having these
uncommon
issues.
sense.
That's why we're having these issues, because we're not thinking and using our brain that God gave us to think for ourselves, to help us be the people that we need to be, and not what the people are trying to make us become.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is a fantastic note to end on, my man.
All right.
I love it.
Cool deal.
That's a fantastic, fantastic interview. It's such a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.
And I'm so happy for all of the blessings that you've received in life, and you're the right man for them.
Hey man, I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Appreciate it, brother.
I'll see you at the bar.
Yes, sir.